What's going on, guys? Greek Freak here, and in this video we have some breaking news, which is Antonio Brown saying release me to the Raiders organization after being fined for his behavior of what he's done over the last few sort of months. But as far as the situation here, this does not sound good in many ways. He's also stated the fact he would not play for an organization that would fine him individually like this. So in this ways, of course, being released would cost him around $19.1 million of his guaranteed money that he has from his contract, which really is surprising that somebody would do something like this. Now, of course, I'm not going to talk about, of course, how much he directly is going to lose. So obviously, if he was to be released, he would be picked up by another team and would get some form of money. Now, of course, I wouldn't believe a contract as big as what he has now due to what he's done, but we would have to see what would happen. Now, of course, in 2018, he had a career high 15 receiving touchdowns, along with 1,297 yards receiving and 109 receiving receptions, while only playing 15 games of the 16 games last season. So whenever we see something like this, we know the fact that Antonio Brown has, of course, been the one thing that's been a caveat has been his attitude as far as things to go. And many people, of course, were questioning whether or not that at one point did the Steelers make the right move. Now it's looking like they didn't just make the right move, they might have made the best decision ever as far as what's happened here. This might be the most one-sided trade. Now, of course, in potential altogether, he can lose $51 million, well, $50.1 million can be potentially lost in this entire trade. Now, of course, like I mentioned, if he was to be released, he would most likely sign with another team, and that would probably make up some of that loss. But of course, would you be expecting a contract as big as that? No. I don't see a team sitting there seeing this would actually decide, yeah, let's pay him more or the same. So it's really going to be questionable here. Now, of course, lots of teams, this is going to take them out of the whole entire thing as far as trying to compete for him, considering the fact that teams use up their salary cap throughout the year. So going into it, they're not really expecting to sign a max key type player. So whenever we see something like this, I'm just not sure whether or not they're going to do something like this. So of course, with that, his threat could be taken seriously, but it's very tough to believe the fact that he would be willing to do that. But it's really a question here. So would the Raiders actually be willing to release somebody like Antonio Brown? I can't see them just doing this straight out at any point. But if things actually did end up getting serious enough that he just sat out for that entire amount of time, that would just cost them money as far as them having to pay him some of that guaranteed money, even though he is not playing. So in a questionable point, would they be willing to even do that? Now, I think the fact this is very questionable of Antonio Brown to do, considering the fact that, of course, when he does this, he's not going to make up that $51 million, obviously, due to the fact that you're just not going to be capable of getting another person to give you that offer. Another thing is, of course, I think the fact that where he's at is a pretty good situation. Now, of course, what teams are going to be interested in trying to go for him? As many people do know, the fact that the NFL and NFL teams do not really like distractions, and Antonio Brown has been the biggest example of that as far as what we've seen for the Raiders, is he's been the headline of their news for quite some time. And whenever we see something like this, it's very questionable to see where something like this happens. Now, of course, this has never really happened to me in NFL history, as far as a player of this type of talent acting in this type of way and actually even trying to say release me when they have such a big amount of money of guaranteed contract, especially at the wide receiver position. So whenever we see something like this, it's pretty interesting that this is sort of something that's going on in so many ways. Now, of course, back to that trade, if this actually ends up happening and the Raiders do have to release Antonio Brown, this could not just be the Steelers winning the trade, it would be them fleecing them in the trade in this situation, just due to the fact that really this could leave the Raiders with nothing out of this trade, and is very questionable to this. And now that, for that reason, is the reason why I don't believe the fact that the Raiders would be willing to release him for nothing in this sense. I think they're going to try to work things out, which we're going to have to see how that goes, is all the dramas that's been happening here with Antonio Brown. But of course, as always, I do like to know what your guys' thoughts are on something like this. Of course, this is one of those wildest as far as stories to really go out on many things. So whenever we see something like this, it's kind of shocking. And of course, I would like to know, guys, what team do you think he will end up being on by the end of this year? Do you think the fact he will still be a Raider? Do you think the fact that he will be released? Tell me in the comments below what you think is a real possibility for Antonio Brown in this situation. But guys, and if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure that you guys leave a like and subscribe to become part of the Greek Army today. And as